Hey there, I hope you're doing well. My name is Adam and today we're going to look at some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy Reddit stories, consider liking, subscribing, and maybe hitting that notification bell too. Let's get started with today's first story. Much love, everyone. Today's first story comes from my sister-in-law told me to stay away on my wedding. I married my husband 7 years ago. At the time, his sister was the only one with kids, and it was made clear to me that I was not an aunt. I was made to feel like a stranger to sister-in-law's children by her own choice. She even taught her children that I'm not an aunt, so as a result of this, I'm not close to them like I am to my husband's other siblings' children, who are my nieces and nephews, and I'm their aunt. I believe I'm a fun and generous aunt. I spend time with my nieces and nephews. I've painted stuff in their rooms as gifts because I'm artsy. Sometimes I'll take them for fun little trips or buy them stuff. Even as a mom now, I like to do that because I love those kids and I never had a family, so it's nice to have people who want me. I don't do any of this with sister-in-law's kids. I don't even try to speak to them anymore when I'm at the same place as them because sister-in-law has made such a big deal. It seemed like I was supposed to ignore them, so I wasn't going to start drama or cause trouble for them by interacting because I'm almost certain she told them not to talk to me. Now, our kids are jealous and hurt that their cousins have cool paintings in their rooms or get to do XYZ, and they don't. She came to me, rang me out about it, and told me I was an idiot for making her kids feel that way. I told her that was her fault, not mine, that she set the tone. She made it so I didn't relate to her kids, and thus her kids' hurt was her fault. I told her she reaps what she sowed, and her poor kids are the biggest victims of all. Of course, she's angry, and now she's all like, see, she's a bad person, and this is why I didn't want my kids to think of her as their aunt. The rest of the family are just rolling their eyes, but I know this didn't help. I also know it doesn't fix anything with her kids, who I do feel bad for. Am I the idiot? I feel guilty about making things potentially worse than all of this. She doesn't consider me related to her kids because I'm not her or her husband's sister, aka, no blood or adoption relationship. Not the idiot, and the family's rolling their eyes at this lady's BS. If anyone said anything, I would go over the malicious compliance. I'd never undermine the decision of another mother, and when I was asked to step back from being an auntie those 7 or so years ago, it hurt. But I listened. I'm sorry that things are this way, but I had to respect her as a parent. I didn't draw the lines when she complained to me. I should have said, I'm sorry, do I know you? But I wonder if sister-in-law was the only daughter between the siblings, not being the first other woman of their generation to marry into the family triggered her. As time passed and the other brothers got married and had children, she became less aggressive, but the damage was already done. The only reason sister-in-law regrets it is that I turned out to be a fabulous auntie to other children, and her own plan worked too well. Actions meet consequences. I followed her instructions not to be there. It sounds like the rest of the family knows she's a problem. Everybody here sucks. You probably aren't telling the whole story about what BS is going on between you and your sister-in-law, but it's awful of both of you to put the kids in the crossfire. And what about your husband? Does he ignore his niece and nephew as well? Why is he supporting either of you acting this way? I couldn't disagree more. The sister-in-law is the parent who made a choice to exclude me and is now the one creating the crossfire because I respected the boundary sister-in-law put around her kids. Are you suggesting I should have stomped on that boundary? I understand your empathy for her kids. Unfortunately, they get the short end of the stick because of their mom's behavior. But before you try to change anything with them, just first consider how your sister-in-law will respond. She may try to make any contact you have with them into something negative. Just know that as you decide what to do next. This happened 2 months ago, but I'm still furious over it. I'm a 45-year-old female. I love my oldest son, but he's nearly an adult and acts like it. Our family rotates chores, cooking, cleaning, dishes, and cleaning common areas are done by each family member on different days. Unfortunately, my son hates chores and always tries to avoid doing them. It's been a constant battle. Dishes are the worst. He overpacks the dishwasher so the dish detergent can't get on the dishes. It just catches on whatever pan he shoved in first. He also doesn't rinse the dishes, so they come out dirty and caked in food. If we want to eat the day after he does dishes, we end up having to hand wash them. He doesn't care. Any attempt to talk to him is met with a little smirk and he would say, "But the dishwasher sanitized it." He knows exactly what he's doing the day after his night to do dishes. I went to cook dinner. All the dishes were in the washer still filthy. I had worked all day and I was exhausted. I honestly teared up seeing this BS. I didn't have the energy to make dinner, let alone do an entire load of dishes first, so I quietly called hubby in and he offered to hand wash the needed dishes. Lightbulb moment, I told him yes, please, but only do enough dishes for preparing the food and serving everyone but the teen son. So I made dinner and called the kiddos to eat. Son sat down and saw his setting was empty. He asked where his plate and silverware and water cup were. I pointed to the dishwasher and said, "Tonight you'll be eating off the dishes you did. Go pick them out." He went pale and started protesting that it was gross. I quickly cut him off and reminded him that the dishwasher sanitized them. Hubby backed me up. If he wants to eat tonight, he'll eat off his dishes. He often said he'd wash some, and I said nope, you had your chance to get them clean last night. Eat off them as they are or don't eat. Tonight he yelled and said he'd make his food, but I said no. Eventually, he relented, found the least disgusting dishes, and ate his dinner quietly. I felt bad. He looked so sick and disgusted, but I was sick of him wasting time and water and detergent, and it worked. His dishes came out spotless after, not a speck. But, like I said, he's still furious, and I do feel bad now that it's over and done with. I'm just sick of the weaponized incompetence. He doesn't realize his laziness screws over everyone else in the house. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, and I think you handled this beautifully. However, I disagree with you on the following. He doesn't realize that his laziness screws over everyone else in the house. He knows, he doesn't care. He knows and doesn't care, OP. You probably should have done this long ago. If he doesn't experience consequences, he's not going to grow up and be less selfish, and he's at an age where this will not be typical or understandable behavior very soon. Agreed. The fact that OP and her husband have gotten into the habit of cleaning the dishes after their son failed to clean them properly means he was never learning his lesson. Instead, he learned that, even when I do something wrong, my parents will have to fix my mistake because they have to eat as well. What OP did was brilliant because he's nearly an adult, and it's time to learn how to do things correctly. The fact that he's somehow figured out how to do dishes correctly overnight shows he knows how to do them, but was being purposefully obtuse about it. Good job, OP. I grew up poor but worked harder than anyone I knew to become financially, personally, and professionally successful. My family was so poor that picking between bus fare and a meal wasn't uncommon. So when I started making a lot of money, a lot of people started to come at me with their hands out. I helped them out of compassion and empathy. Someone giving something so small to someone who has nothing can make a difference. I know because I've been on the other side. Every person I helped tried turning me into a personal ATM. I never had that issue with people who had money, that'd be embarrassing to them. I do not spoil my kids, but yes, we live in a nice house in a nice neighborhood, etc., and I expect my kids to work and get good grades. My eldest son is a teen and got into trouble for telling a peer that he doesn't want to be his friend because he's poor. A teacher overheard and lost her crap. Unlike that dingbat dinosaur teacher, I got the context and facts before reacting. My son started to hang out with Austin. Austin would always complain that he had no money to do stuff, so my son would spot him. For example, A group went to see Top Gun and Austin had no money, so my son paid for his movie ticket. Things started to get awkward when Austin started to expect my son to pay for his crap. The breaking point was when their friends went to IHOP and Austin ordered a bunch of food. When they were figuring out who owed what on the bill, Austin casually said my son would pay for his meal too. My son just had onion rings, and this kid had a meal, a dessert, and a milkshake. Later, my son complained to their friends about how I barely give him any money and he has to work as a grade school tutor only for Austin to pull these idiot moves on him. As a result, they all stopped talking to or associating with Austin. Flash forward a couple of weeks in class, Austin asked him why he's not being invited to do stuff. My son said because he's tired of paying for his crap. Austin said, "I'm poor." A teen's idea of poor has last year's iPhone. My son sarcastically said, "Well, then I don't want to be friends with poor people and get a job like him." This led to a call from the teacher. I explained the context of the conversation to the teacher because she wasn't listening to my son when he tried to explain it. She said my son was mean and would be assigned detention. I told her that I was going to tell my son. He doesn't have to serve detention over this, and what was she going to do about it? She said nothing and dropped it. Edit Austin is not impoverished and living under the freeway in a tent. He can get a job like my son and other kids at their school, but he chooses not to. Not the idiot. Go to the head teacher and explain how much your son has been emotionally blackmailed into handing over money and that the last time that friends' actions were essentially theft. He ate something he couldn't pay for and had no consent to do so, and your son was forced to pay. Say the school needs to teach pupils to stand up to emotional abuse, manipulation, and bullying, and your son has a right to stand up for himself and end the relationship, and that this teacher should have listened to the full story. Everyone's the idiot here. Your son probably deserves detention for having that outburst, and you shouldn't be interfering with the teacher's discipline unless something is really wrong with how she's handling things. I think you need to help your son work on his delivery, or else you'll be dealing with more than detention one day. I agree there's nothing wrong with OP's son standing up for himself, but the wording was unkind. What would have been just as effective and more accurate would have been to say something like, "I don't want to be friends with someone who takes advantage of me because that's the problem, not that Austin's poor." Telling an entitled idiot to get bent and use his own money. Yeah, he's going to run into so much trouble. It wasn't a bad delivery, given the context. It was a sarcastic answer to someone using excuses for his bad behavior. The teacher didn't want to know what happened and took a poorly worded phrase out of context as enough to make a point. I know it sounds strange, and I don't think I'm the idiot, but I need other people's opinions on this. My spoiled high school dropout brother married his wife, same qualifications, this year. They're both 19, and I'm 23. By the way, long story short, my brother's hag of a mother-in-law wants a grandkid as soon as possible, so she manipulated them into getting married and my stupid mother went along with it. My new sister-in-law is expecting now, so I'm pretty sure my theory's correct. No, I don't care that I'm being disrespectful, we're not well off, not at all. My father suddenly became a coward and didn't talk my brother and mother out of it. He talked me out of the college I wanted to attend though, because of the tuition fees back in the day to pay for the wedding. My father has gotten a loan from my uncle, his brother, and he now wants the money back. My parents sat me down a few days ago and told me that they have no money to spare, too much debt to get a loan from an actual bank. And since my brother and sister-in-law are so young and expecting, they can't pay back my uncle either. That leaves only me, apparently, because I don't have debt, no babies coming anytime soon, but since I have savings and a job, I owe it to my family to take out a loan and hand it to my uncle. I didn't say a word, just laughed in their faces and left. I've been receiving a bunch of texts and calls from my family to save them financially. But I won't. I don't know if I live in a different reality or they do. No, it's not like a cultural thing or anything, so am I the idiot for refusing to take out a loan for my family? Not the idiot. Dear Lord, this is a mess. If no one can afford to pay for this wedding, what will they do about the baby? Other than keep coming to you for loans they'll never pay back. Hold firm. This is not your problem to solve and refuse to discuss it further. If you have to take out a substantial loan to throw a lavish wedding, you do not have the money for that type of wedding. So maybe, just maybe, any money they have should be going to this baby instead. Laughing in their faces is the correct response to such an absurd question, but OP, please tell me that you're the only person who has access to your savings, that it's locked down and they can't borrow or steal it from you. Update your passwords and don't stay logged into online banking on computers. Yes, please do this. Your parents indeed have, or can quickly get, your SSN, date of birth, past addresses, and employment history, which is probably all they need to open credit in your name. This was a crazy request from your parents, and even if you think they'd never actually steal from you. Even if they believe that themselves, being broke and desperate can make people do strange things. Exactly. If they know your SSN, they can likely take out credit in your name and then you'll be screwed because they won't pay it back and you won't even know. Pretty sure it takes like 10 minutes. You call the big reporting agencies. I think it's 3 big ones, and they lock it, or go online. Easy process to reverse, too, once you're ready to use it to get a loan for a home, school, car, or whatever. Their financial stupidity is not your responsibility. They should work out a payment plan for your uncle on their own. I, 35, mailed, grew up with my best friend and his wife Amanda. She was always a friend of mine, but I've always been closer to her husband. Unfortunately, they moved out of town years ago and they've only come for funerals, weddings, and other family-related events. A few months ago, Amanda came to town to attend her sister-in-law's, my best friend's sister, bachelorette party. Her sister-in-law is a very nice and bubbly person, but she's always treated Amanda poorly out of jealousy or something. I don't know. Amanda wasn't too thrilled about the trip, but she had to come because she was one of the bridesmaids. So I offered to pick her up from the airport and take her out for drinks afterward to help calm her nerves. Well, I was an idiot and I forgot to add it to my calendar. I scheduled a date with this girl that night and that morning, Amanda texted me and asked me if we were still on. I freaked out and apologized. I couldn't cancel the date because I had already paid for the show tickets, so I got the sister-in-law's best friend to pick up Amanda and bring her to the hotel. 2 days later, I took Amanda out for drinks. She was feeling very down because her sister-in-law mistreated her at the bachelorette party and everyone else ignored her. I spent a few hours with her just drinking and chatting, and then I got a text from my girlfriend. She wanted me to come over to her apartment, so I got a mutual friend to come to the bar and keep Amanda company. Then I left. After that, Amanda stopped talking to me. She won't reply to my text or social media messages. It's been 3 months, and I finally asked my best friend about the deal with his wife. He gave me a litany of complaints Amanda had about me, like I forget her birthday all the time. She's not on Facebook, and I get birthday reminders there, and the last straw was me forgetting to pick her up at the airport and ditching her at the bar. I told my friend that I'm very absent-minded and they should have known that already. I said Amanda is overly sensitive and she needs to stop holding grudges. I already apologized to her for everything. I don't know what more she wants. My best friend got angry, and now he's not talking to me too. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot, so you ditched your friend twice and now wonder why she's not talking to you, and you think she's too sensitive. You made plans with her and then dropped her twice to do something you'd rather be doing. You showed her by your actions that you don't value her as a friend. I would stop talking to you too. You treated Amanda poorly multiple times, and she's finally had enough. You don't get to mistreat people and expect them to get over it. It's a major red flag that your first instinct isn't to apologize to Amanda but to say she's the problem. You messed up again and again, not her. Sorry, but dude, you are the idiot. You're making excuses. You grew up with them, so that's years. Her birthday is the same day every year, and you have a phone, right? Or a calendar. All of those can be used to mark her birthday. You ditched her twice in one trip while she was feeling down. Really, you don't see something wrong with that, especially after you forgot her at the airport? Man, that's horrible. I'm going to turn this one over to you. What do you make of this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time mean the world to me. So, thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate your time. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.